dad's perspective and a great granddad's perspective. So, and hopefully have some fun. I'm ready. I'm ready for the slings and arrows, guys. I'm ready to take them.
All right, we'll see if it happens. Kerry Rock, you ready to rock?
Let's do this.
Judah Wickower is our director. He gets serious props on this network on a daily basis. We can start the program, my friend, when you're ready. Guys, good Friday morning. My name is Jerry Miller, and welcome to Real Talk with Keith Smith. Thank you kindly for joining us. It's a Father's Day special with maybe my favorite holiday right around the corner. Real Talk with Keith Smith, presented by Keller Williams Alliance and Yes Realty Partners. We have a Charlottesville, Central Virginia, Fluvanna County, Commonwealth, country, and worldwide audience today on Real Talk with Keith Smith. Judah Wickower is our director. And if we could go to the studio camera and welcome a true cast of characters this morning. Kerry Rock,
this is gonna be fun.
A podcast star, Kerry Rock, a father of two, Kerry Rock, a veteran, Kerry Rock, a man who works in IT.
See, this is why I come on the show. Like,
loving husband,
best intros ever.
Caring father, all-around great guy, the head of Do Good Seville with his beautiful wife, Colleen. How about Pop Smith in the house?
After that, who could match that?
We got Pop Smith in the house. This man is a grandfather, a great-grandfather.
Yeah.
A great-grandfather.
Great-great-grandfather.
He's the father of the distinguished gentleman, Keith Smith. I have a feeling we're going to have a lot of fun with that right there, Pop Smith.
I don't know. Who was the one that set this stage up that way?
You did!
No. I'm talking about where everybody's sitting.
Oh, that's a Judah. That's the power.
Nice going there, director.
The power. And there's Keith Smith, the star of our show. Good morning.
And Keith.
And Keith. Who's married to Yona.
Is married to Yona.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
You're better 7/8.
Did I tell you that the other day? I was at a car board meeting, and somebody at the board meeting couldn't remember, Charlottesville Association of Board Members, couldn't remember my name. And they went,
Yona's husband.
You're Yona's husband. I went, there's nothing more, that can build up one's esteem of going, yeah, you're Yona's husband.
Alex Zerpe, good morning, and thank you for the kind Father's Day wishes. All right, well, why don't we introduce ourselves? So, Kerry Rock, the show is yours.
Jerry and Keith, thanks for having me on the show. Kerry Rock, co-founder of Do Good Seville. But for this show, father of two little girls. Got a 5-month-old, almost 6 months, and just another one just over 2 years old. As you mentioned, we got the podcast, Real Life, Dad Life, 4 episodes in, recording episode 5 and 6 tonight.
Awesome.
All the fun stuff of being a dad.
2 daughters, Keith Smith.
Yeah, I feel your pain, brother.
Well, right now I'm the picture of happiness and complete exhaustion because we're going through the sleep regression with our youngest one. But yeah, had one of those picture perfect, horrible yet great mornings with the daughter. Like, she was helping dress the younger one and took out both my shins with drawers and then stepped on my toe like being an elephant. But then she sang Frozen in the greatest way possible with a big flourish at the end. As soon as we got to daycare, I'm like, how can I not love her endlessly?
Sure.
So that was the picture of being a father or dad to me today.
Well, I'm the father of a 36-year-old. I got to double check this, Pop. Check me if I'm wrong. A 36.
I lost count.
What, kids? Yeah, that after 5. With
Who
5,
are we talking about?
It's okay. It's okay, Pop. It's all right. Have another sip.
Yeah.
Have another sip,
Just
Pop.
smack me every once in a while.
Of 36 and Yvonne.
You should know how old your daughter is.
I don't.
You should know how old your
she's
daughter is.
36.
20. And I know it's very simple for me. I know how old Yasmina is because it's the same amount of years we're married.
There you go.
Because Yasmina was born before we got married because when I was in Marine Corps and I was on MSG duty, you couldn't get married. I had to sign a contract. Couldn't get married, and we made the decision to fulfill one contract before we entered into another contract. So Yasmina, I got. Yvonne.
This is his youngest daughter,
Yeah,
who's watching from Seattle.
I think 27, 28.
Okay.
You are
correct
so
me.
in trouble.
Well, on a previous show, he didn't remember her middle name.
No. Remembering their first names becomes a struggle. Have you ever had that happen to you?
No, because they're my daughters.
Yeah. No.
Okay,
They're my
bye-bye, show over. See you.
How about Pop? Let's get Pop in the mix. Pop, you got to introduce yourself to everybody that's watching. Everyone in this region knows you as Pop.
Everybody in the world.
That's what I am. Pop.
You're Pop.
Yeah.
Tell us about yourself.
Well, I'm 82,
Okay.
father of 5 children, and is it 10 or 11 grandchildren, and 2 great-grandchildren. And I'm here to wish everybody that's a father or will be a father, happy Father's Day.
So I think
That's it.
I think it's.
You want to give me my life from there?
Yeah, sure.
I would love.
We got an hour and a half.
You can
Bob.
do whatever you want. You can do whatever.
At
you want.
82, you can do whatever the hell
I'll
you
have
want.
a couple more.
There we go.
No,
We all have a nice little bourbon, a Buffalo Trace. In
no,
front of us.
we came down. I'm a retired New York City fire officer, and we came down here and we built some homes, and we're totally retired now because I can't do anything. But
It was interesting. You were late this morning. I don't think I've
Yeah.
ever
well,
seen that happen.
I said I got in the car with Keith. I said, "Thank God I don't have to show up every day." I was, you get to that retirement stage, I'll take a little more time. I'll do this, do that. And not when you guys hit the deck, you're going this and that. Now kind of like a lot of so holy smoly, I'm late. So, never used to be late. In the Navy, you always had to be 15 minutes before the time. Is that the same in the Army?
Yeah.
Yeah, and in the firehouse, we were always early. Always early.
So we should highlight that. We have 3 veterans on the show. We have Army with Kerry Rock, Navy with Pop Smith, Leonard Smith, and we have the Marine Corps.
You saved the best for last,
With
obviously.
Keith Smith. We got
Obviously.
4. Obviously.
He's getting up. He's gonna walk. I'll tell a very interesting story about that. So the duty that I was on, I never wore a uniform. And so we had to go down to Fort Gordon in Georgia and do some little bit of work about rappelling off of little birds, doing some extractions and entries and all this stuff. And so the night before we went to the officer club because we carried diplomatic passports and we didn't have that, and being 19-year-old guys, that's what you do, right? So of course we get into drinking a little bit and we get into talking about, Marine Corps is great, Army sucks, yada, 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 what we're supposed to do, right?
Yeah.
The next morning, guess who our 2 pilots were? The guys we were busting the chops for.
Wow.
Just how it works. Like,
Yeah.
That's how it works, except, we were supposed to rappel behind the bottom of the helicopter and then pop on top of the building, make our entry into it. But there was a swamp around there, and they put us in the swamp, and there was a 15-mile hump through the swamp.
Good training.
Good training.
Good training.
Lesson to learn was be very nice to who you meet at the bar because they could be your pilots the next morning.
Well, here's a question for you, veterans. Again, Navy, Army, and Marine Corps in the
Missing Air
house.
Force.
Does serving in the military, did it influence or shape fatherhood and how you were a father and the process of being a dad with your kids?
I'm going to go age first.
Yeah, Pop, what do you think of
you
that?
guys-
This is a Father's Day special.
You're good.
Talk about fathers. We grew up in New York, Queens, New York, and I was 17 years old going nowhere. And my father said to me, "You're going in the Navy." So I got signed in, and whatever my father said, that was it. He was a great guy. Anyway, so I went in the Navy, and I was kind of like every time I blinked, I was in a new world, 17 years old. And we, at that time, when I got aboard my ship, we had some draftees that were in the Navy, which was unusual because they're usually all volunteers at that time. At that time, the draft was there. So I was like a little kid, and I was very happy to, they treated me well, and I learned a lot and grew up, just, you learned, and a lot of the people that we were with were married, with children we were stationed in Norfolk, And they were at sea, we were at sea for, I guess, 9 months, and they were away for 9 months, so that was a little different, you weren't always home. The military families, but as I got through I was on different assignments, I just said, well, if I was going to get married, I would never stay in the military,
I
not
made that
at
same
that time.
decision too. Did you make that same decision?
Oh, I got married long after I was out of the military.
Okay.
No,
Well, it was just too hard on everything, and
I'll if my girls are watching.
You know, apologize first.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
I'll get your age right, I swear.
No, they won't. Believe me, I've called them everything from their actual name to the dog. So, but do you have the knife hand in the Army?
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
I was going to bring that up.
Yeah. It's they'll tell you, when Dad starts doing the knife hand. But I'll remember. So us tell a story on Pop. And I don't know what it is. I don't know how you can remember. I can't remember what I had for breakfast yesterday, but I can remember kindergarten.
Okay.
And, it's an age thing. You'll get there one day, buddy. And so in the fire service, in the New York City Fire Department, they use naval terms, right?
Right.
Right.
It's a whole different language, yeah.
So a head is a bathroom, right? The deck is the floor. So
Overhead ceiling.
So I always knew the bathroom was a head. I didn't know the bathroom was a bathroom as a kid growing up because we always called in the house that. So just imagine as a 5-year-old going to kindergarten,
Where's the head?
raising your hand up, asking some teacher, hey, where's the head? To say I got sent to the principal office would be, so that started a long career of going to the principal office a little bit too much. But you told me something the other day, Pop, that I did not really actually put 2 and 2 together until you told me. So tell a little bit about, Grandpa, my father, your father, my grandfather, went into World War II. You were how old? 3?
Well, I was born in 39. He went in 42.
And he got out when?
And he got out in 45. He returned at 45. But I only remember seeing my father once during the time he went in till he came home. It was the father, and we really should talk about the mothers during that time. What they did is to hold the families together was amazing. And it was a different time, there was no, how can I say, like the military today, as I understand it, is a little bit more out for the members. They help them, and stuff like that. They're, they would tell you, you will do this. There wasn't a question, do you want to do it? You will do it, And, but my father, I don't remember I remember him coming home.
How old were you at that time?
Well, I would be 6, right? 39 to 40, 45, or 5.5 or 6, around 6. And he had a sea bag, and we were taking out artifacts, and he brought home for my sister and I. My sister was a year and a half older than I was. But that was a hard time for all families. When they didn't, I was talking to sailors, they were 24 months at sea, never, the supply, and especially in the South Pacific. And I happened to, when I went into the Navy, I happened to work with a lot of old salts, which was good. It was my, and then when I went into the fire department, a lot of WW2 guys, and that was completely different. Everything was wide open, but they were all married. Out of 26 men, I think 2 were single, and they were younger, but the rest were married. And there was no such a thing as, I remember we had Keith, and I said I was talking to the officer, I said, my wife's going to have a baby, and this man had 9 children, right?
Man.
So he said, so? And he says, is there anything wrong, with the wife? Is there a problem? Anything that we would have to take care of you. And no, he says, all right. So, what's the story? Yeah, kids, you know. And a lot of them had 9 kids and 6 kids, and you know, you get a lot of education that way, how to handle things, you know.
So any of that, like with you saying that you didn't see your dad for the whole time during World War II, did
Well,
that,
once I remember seeing him once in uniform.
but growing up like that, did that change any way how you were a father to Keith?
Great question.
I try to be more. I don't know. I imagine it would be. I always try to be in his. When he was younger, when Keith was younger, he was with me a lot of times with my father. We used to go fishing.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
he was the brunt of everything.
Oh, yeah.
Anything went wrong, it was
Oh, yeah.
Keith's fault. And,
I'm still going to therapy.
Yeah, right. And I
Twice a
remem-
week, by the way.
I
just so
remember,
that you know.
remember the phonograph needle, right? So he was a chatty kid,
Oh, imagine that.
and we're sitting in the car. And my father said, "What the hell did he get? Vaccinated with a phonograph
here."
needle?" you know. Tit, 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 tit.
The phonograph needle, yeah. So the director wants to hear about the phonograph needle. Was that the one? Was that the time that I got threatened to throw? Or was I actually thrown off the boat? Or did I think I was thrown?
How
off?
many, which time are you talking about?
Yeah. So at one point in my life, I wouldn't shut up. Go figure.
No,
It was
And-
nice. It was just a chatty kid. It
And
wasn't-
my grandfather said, "Son, when they vaccinated you, they used a phonograph needle instead of a hypodermic needle." And I don't think he used the F word, but it was awfully close to that at that end of it. But Dad's 100% right.
I don't ever remember the F word used in my
No,
house.
no.
Ever at all,
Never,
ever
never,
at all.
never did.
I mean,
I think the first time I heard it may have been Mom, but that's a different
yeah,
story.
well, you probably,
I started it.
You
My,
pulled the
my-
string,
my
that's
mother
what
once
that-
threatened to iron my face
Yeah.
and meant it. But,
This
you know,
is a Father's Day special, guys, here of Real Talk. That's why 4 fathers over a bourbon and a cup of coffee are having some fun this
and I
morning.
think I need more bourbon and put my eyeglasses on.
The bottle's over there.
Yeah, and that is thank you to one of our wonderful sponsors,
Woody Fincham.
Woody Fincham.
Fincham and Associates, thank you kindly for that Buffalo Trace. So, Pop, talk to us about the relationship you have with not only Keith but Yona, and how close your whole family is. You guys live in the same neighborhood,
3 miles away from
3
each other.
miles away from each other, and walk us through the experience of working together and then living 3 miles away from each other.
don't do it.
Don't do it.
No,
They
it
work
was,
together.
So we
Keith and
had
Pop
so
did.
on the way in, I said, look, if you don't want to talk about a topic, we joke around and say, hey, what about them Mets, right? So hey, what about them Mets, Pop?
No, what about those Mets? Yona is a home run.
Yona is a home run.
Home run. We at where we lived in Levittown, Long Island, we had every 4th of July, we had a block party. I guess you guys all know about that. And Yona had come, right? She was in there. We had our neighbors put a big sign up, welcome Yona. We never seen Yona before. And I guess she never was she in the U.S. before that?
Yes,
Yeah,
but we won't want to talk about that.
okay. So,
How about them Mets?
How about them Mets?
yeah,
Something
And,
about a conception or not may have happened at that particular time.
anyway,
Whoa.
It's a Father's Day special,
Whoa.
right? It's kind of how it works, right, gentlemen?
That's how it works.
so we greeted her in the traditional American way. Everybody's, all the kids, and Levittown used to be full of kids and dogs, and a lot of W-2 vets there, and they raised their family. And she come in, and she was good, she worked her way. But we were in the house, and we were going to eat, so I said, all right, we're going to have some chow down, And
That would be food.
she didn't know what I meant.
She had
you
no
know?
clue.
So, but anyway, that great home run, Yona home run,
So one of the takeaways, Kerry, that I had growing up was even though Dad was working, you were always working 2 or 3 jobs, right?
Absolutely.
Right, and on the fire department, you would pull 48, 72-hour shifts. He always made time for me. How much time do you spend with your kids, buddy?
I try as much as possible. we're different era, so my wife and I both work full-time.
Sure.
So during the regular day, right now we get a lot more time because our baby's not sleeping that well.
That's a whole different time.
A
by the
whole
way.
different thing. But normally we try to get at least an hour of time together with the family. Everybody eats breakfast together, and then send them off to daycare. And when we get home, we get a good 2-3 hours hanging out with the kids. Trying to be really good about leaving the phone on the charger off
Sure.
to the side and just fully focusing on them. I'm not as great as I would like to be. But then when it comes to the weekends, taking the kids out for long family walks, if it's rainy outside, we all snuggle up and, watch a movie. So as busy as I can be with the nonprofits, with my real job that actually pays the bills too, I try to do as much as I can with our daughters. Because you're hearing stories like that, World War II, like not seeing your child for that long. Like, yes, there's certain weekends where my wife and I are very happy to not see our children for a weekend.
Sure.
I can't imagine going longer than like 2-3 days and not seeing my kiddos and getting a hug.
So I'll get a little philosophical here and Pop jump in because you have much more experience than I do.
Getting philosophical
No,
or being a father?
I was going to say thinking, but I decided.
Anytime Keith says I'm getting philosophical, I get a little nervous.
Yeah.
I get a little nervous.
I was going to say.
His glass is empty, so he could get real philosophical.
Yeah, really, that's
And
true.
it wasn't enough to get philosophical, by the way. It was just a taste. But the director may or may not bring more bourbon over here for us to drink.
That was a subtle hint.
That was a subtle hint. But at my age, right? So the part of what I wanted to do here today, right, is young dad, right? Jerry, you're only kind of into us in year number 3.
Our little boy's 4 and change.
4, I
but we're
apologize.
very, very young
I don't
in the
want
game. Very new to the game.
Yeah, and just a taste, Mr. Director.
I mean, go studio cam so people can see you filling. Go ahead, Keith Smith. Finish your thought there.
Yeah, so it's funny because, at my age of 60 or almost 60, with 30-something and 20-something, because I won't name the age because I can't. Thank you, sir. Just a tad, more than enough. Thank you. You start thinking to yourself. You start thinking to yourself, gentlemen. Did I make the right calls? Right?
Thank you.
Did I spend the right amount of time and all that kind of great stuff? And it's kind of normal. This is where we're at in our lives. We're thinking that right now on that end of it. And so the reality of it is, when they pick up the phone and call you and say, "Hey, Dad, thanks for when you did this, and I'm going to do this right now. Hey, Dad, thanks all those times you took me out fishing. Man, you used to take me out of school." How freaking cool is that?
That's cool.
That's a hero.
You used to take me out of school to go fishing. Now, I got abused like freaking crazy on it, right? Whatever went wrong, it was my fault.
It was.
Right?
Yeah.
Whatever went wrong, it was my fault. But just, from my perspective, when I look back growing up, the time that you spent with me was just off the charts, right? And I got lucky, where's Keith? He's out fishing. He's not in school. And told the teacher, "Hey, I'm taking him fishing."
It's great.
If you got a problem with that, we're going fishing. So,
Well,
Thank you,
it
Bob.
was at different times. You had.
I did it with my kids.
Didn't have a lot of time. You didn't have a lot of time. Like Keith said, that we worked 2-3 jobs, whatever we could do to make everything a little better. We were basically cliff dwellers or apartment people. Only the rich people in our family had homes and a car. What we used to call them rich, but it wasn't. Wasn't the whole life was different. And your father's coming home. Everybody make sure your father, is coming home. And then if I come home and I had a busy night or something, especially in the fire, don't wake your father up.
Oh my God! Don't go
wake
there.
your father up.
Oh.
It's- because we sorry to say, I guess, or good to say, whatever. Where I work was very, very, very busy. And it,
How many runs a year you used to do? 4,000, 5,000?
5 to 6
Runs being
thousand.
fires or
Man.
Yeah, but they're not all fires. I mean, you would.
How many active fires? You were in rescue too. You would pretty much anything you went
Well,
to.
not only
was
that,
active.
in my truck company was occupied, what they call occupied structural workers. We had quite a few, and that was in the transition of the neighborhoods. The neighborhoods were changing, the population was changing. My wife and I, Tina, hiya Tina, my wife and
Good move, Dad.
we used to,
Cheers, Pop.
we kept company.
Cheers, Tina.
Cheers, Dina. Cheers,
Yeah,
cheers, gentlemen.
cheers. Cheers.
To the mothers.
Cheers. We kept company, and I remember she had come from the neighborhood of Bushwick, Brooklyn, where we were courting, and we come home for the movie or something, walk, go down, sit on the stoop, go across the street and get a container of beer and a salami hero or hoagie, whatever you call it, sit on the stoop, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, and just, you couldn't do that. When I left that place, it was like,
Well, they call it the war years for a reason.
Yeah,
There was
it
a
was,
couple of decades of the war years.
similar to what you see in Ukraine. It was just amazing how that, and I guess.
But the neighborhood's really turned. Brooklyn has become pretty and clean.
Brooklyn's great. It's
It's
Tony.
great.
It's posh.
Somebody really wants to take a look at what it was like in the '60s and the '70s and the early. Just Google it, and it's amazing.
And it isn't really, and you don't really realize a lot of it till you kind of get out of it, and, yeah, I remember that, I remember this, but there's a statement somewhere, I read it, said that one out of 4 people in the United States can trace somewhere back to Brooklyn in their
Yeah.
family. 1 out of 4, that's quite a bit. I didn't talk about Brooklyn, but I should talk about Brooklyn because we just had Flag Day. Flag Day used to be called Brooklyn Day also, and the Diocese of Brooklyn used to give the kids off. We went to parochial school, and it was just different times.
Kerry, what have you learned about yourself by being a dad with 2 little people in your world? What have you learned? What have you learned about yourself that you did not know about? How old is your oldest?
2 years, 5 months.
What have you learned about yourself 3 years ago to now?
I really like my time. I used to, so there's a topic that we're going to be talking about later. I feel like with being a father now, I moved from being selfish to selfless. Realizing that, yes, while in a relationship with my wife and everything, you're not being selfish at that time, but like my time was my time, and now my time is my kids' time as well. And when I first started being a dad, I would get angry about that a little bit. But now realizing that you just asked how much time am I spending with my kids, now I'm happy to do it. It's like my time that I used for riding the motorcycle, doing other things, going out with the guys. Now I see it as more of an investment in my daughters in the future. And I'm going to mirror it back to you. So you did rescue, dangerous fire stuff. You did crazy off-the-books stuff in the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
Did you go that way because of the awesome, dangerous example?
No, I wanted to be as far away from him as possible. That's what 18-year-olds and 19s are supposed to do.
And let's say hi to a great dad.
Yeah.
Frank Rock.
Oh,
Papa Rock,
hey,
watching
Pop.
the program right now. Carrie's dad and mom are watching from California. They say this is a great show. Heather Bangley is commenting with Frank Rock in the comment section, and Sarah Rock's got the heart emojis all over the screen right here. So you, the viewer and listener, can shape the conversation by offering perspective, and we'll relay it on air. This is a great point. So do you think you pursued, I don't want to call it adrenaline, but like high risk, dangerous because of Pop?
No.
Because what you chose to do in the Marine Corps isn't the traditional.
I didn't get to choose it.
Okay.
But you chose to go into the Marine Corps.
I chose to go in the Marine Corps, and I remember that, right? I remember you and I decided to attempt college. And the word attempt.
I tried that for a week.
I did much better than you. I did it for a semester. Cheers, congratulations.
Hey, well
on
done.
that.
Alfred University.
Alfred University, 18-year-olds and green alcohol that you could buy legally all day long. Did not mix.
Nah.
So I talked to Pop, and I said, I remember this like it was yesterday. I actually, I don't. I love the Army. I love. This is coming from a place of love. So I sat down with Pop, and I said, look, they offered me rescue, dive. I can do this, Smith. A rescue diver in the Navy, or actually an MP as a cop.
Yeah.
So I wanted to be a cop as a kid growing up.
Okay.
That's what I always
Well,
wanted
cop
to
and
be.
an MP are completely different.
No, not in the Marine Corps. We'll have to change that up a little bit.
Okay.
There's two different cops, right? There's we were actually law enforcement.
Okay, Army MPs then. Let me
Army
correct my
MPs is
statement.
very, very different. But anyway, make a long story short. So I asked Pop, I said, this is what I want to do, da, 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 da. And he said, if you're going to do that, son, go to the best. And I went to the best. I listened to what he said. Instead of the Navy, I went into the Marine Corps. And it's interesting, if Yvonne is watching, I wrote her a letter. So his granddaughter, my daughter, which I cannot remember her age, I got her name right though, so that's got to count for something. Is a Division I athlete, former Division I athlete, and she couldn't get into her choice school, which was JMU. She ended up going to Radford University on a swimming scholarship.
I mean, it's still a great school.
Still a great school, but she was pissed about it. And I said, look, I wrote this letter, and the premise of the letter is God, karma, or whatever you believe in, if it doesn't, and this is what I learned in the military and learned from living with Pop, if this is not what you want to do, walk whatever that path is at 110%, because you never know where that's going to go. So I actually went in the Marine Corps and didn't know I got chosen, right out of boot camp, I got chosen for this duty. I had no clue that was going to happen. Went through MP school in San Antonio, graduated number 1, back in the Corps at that point. If you graduate number 1, you get to pick your duty station. So I picked Irakuni, Japan. They sent me back to Parris Island, South Carolina. Right.
Oh.
So those who are Marines understand what it is after you leave that for 3 months to get sent back there. Like, I know there's no SCC rules, but I won't say the F word. but that's what I was thinking. What the F did I just do? But I didn't know I got selected for this duty. Got sent to the school, went to Langley, went to FBI Academy, yada, yada, yada. Went overseas, graduated number 1, and I picked Kathmandu. Because,
That just seems cool.
I said, how cool is that?
That
And
seems cool.
you're 20 at this point now, right? After training?
19-ish, 20-ish, 19 and a half.
Yeah, 19,
Not-
20. If you're a kid like that age, honestly, you're a kid at that point.
He's a
still.
kid.
Hey, you get a chance to go to Kathmandu, you're
I
going to
happen
do
to still
that.
think I'm a kid, but anyway, Kathmandu.
You're still a kid.
I was listening to Bob Seger's song, and I said, that's where I want to go. And sent me to Sofia, Bulgaria, behind the Iron Curtain, which was not on the effing list, had nothing to do
But you
with...
had first pick.
Yeah.
You think you do in the
so,
military.
so
Is
well,
that what it was? And then they said you don't get to
That's-
pick?
That's exactly the way.
That's exactly
the
what
Needs
happened.
of the
Yeah.
military.
Really? Wow.
You were told what to do.
Yeah. So you go to Bulgaria, and it's serendipitous. Because
So
you
I
meet
did not know
Yona.
this. Out of boot camp, I got selected to go there. They selected me to do this, and I had no clue what this was going to happen until I went, oh. And so the story is I told to Yvonne, I said, look, if I didn't do that and meet Yona, my wife, in Sofia, Bulgaria, you wouldn't be born. So the lesson I learned from my father was whatever path is put in front of you, walk it at 110%, at 100% effort, and
That's
Just-
what most people, yeah.
and then it'll work out okay.
So it's interesting. You were told to go into the Navy. You wanted to go into the military, and he supported it. I completely hid it from my family for the first week.
This is a story.
So I
Hit it.
got out of high school. Great
You realize
grades.
that oh, okay.
Was
they
that-
know this
Well, they
story.
know now.
Oh yeah.
Well, his
know
dad
that.
is watching.
Yeah.
Duh.
So Papa
Right.
Rock and Mama Rock
So
are there.
remember, I'm a Marine. Anything above this gets a little different.
Frank is watching right now.
But no, I tried applying for community college because my parents came to me one day in summer and I was just watching TV and I had a job working for a community theater. My parents came to me like, we love you, but you need to do something. It's either get a real job, like a full-time job, or go to school. And if you go to school, you can live rent-free. We'll help you out how we can. And we weren't, financially great at that point. I knew my parents weren't going to be able to pay for college. So I looked at it half-heartedly. And then randomly was up at my neighbor's house. I'd known him for 6 years, never knew he was in the Army. He's like, hey, he was running an insurance company. He's like, I've got an opening in the mailroom. I'll give you the job, starting at $11. And
That's big bucks back then.
Back in 2000.
Yeah,
Which I'm
big
like,
bucks.
oh my God, I'm going to be rich. But he's like, you have to go speak to a military recruiter.
First.
Yeah. He's
Good
like,
for you.
all you have to do is listen to the spiel. As long as you do that, you can have the job. Went down and actually tried to apply for the Air Force because I'd always heard that was the easiest, most cush one. Anybody out there listening that says different, I don't care.
I'm going to tell you a story about that, but go
We'll
ahead.
get there. But so the only person in the recruiting office at that point was the Army officer, Sergeant First Class Steele, and he looked every bit like the name itself. And for a half hour I was in there in his office, he didn't say a word about the Army. Like he was just wanting to know what I wanted to do, where I was going in life, and then that was a Sunday. And then on Monday I came back, and Tuesday came back, and then took the ASVAB test. Got a 99 on it, and they're like, sure, you can do whatever you want. And this whole time, it's summertime, and my parents were going to work, and I was just like, hey, I'm just going to go hang out. And completely lied to them that I was going to the recruiting station for a week solid until I finally went to the MEP station. Took the test, was offered the job that I wanted to go, and then at a pool party, I told my best friend, Garrett, who then told his mother, who's best friends with my mother.
No way.
And yeah, he ratted me out in a
That's how it got back to your parents?
And then that night, it was the girls were sent to their room, and for 2 hours.
This is your sisters?
Yeah, Sarah
Okay.
and Casey.
How many
were
brothers
basically
and sisters do you have?
2 sisters. I'm the middle.
Sarah's watching right now.
Oh yeah, they got basically sent to their rooms while mom and dad yelled at me for 2 hours about why did I want to leave the family. And it was rough. But it was one of those where you say, like, when it feels right and you're just going to put on this path, it's like everything about that enlistment felt right.
How long did you serve?
5 years. I was stop lost for 1 year.
Okay.
But yeah, that conversation, it ended rough. And then it was a car drive down to Anaheim with my mom that she understood where I was coming from.
Casey's listening too. We got to
good.
make sure
We
Casey.
got the whole family in.
Casey, hello. I didn't forget you, Casey. I
But
feel
it was
like I know
a
you.
car ride with my mom and her realizing that she and my dad had raised me to go our own way. They had grown 3 amazing, independent young people, and we're trying to go our own way. And the next day we had a theater ceremony, and she announced to everybody that Carrie was joining the Army.
So that's interesting you should say that, because one of the things that I remember that we were always supported as kids growing up to not necessarily do your own thing. There was always guidance, right? Given by
Absolutely,
pop
absolutely.
and mom. But they never said no, right? I mean, look, if it was, hey, I'm going to bungee jump off the Empire State Building, maybe
Yeah.
not. But we were always supported to chase our dreams and do what we had to do. And that's what I tried to instill in my children, and our children, I should say, growing up is, give them support and all that stuff. And we were talking about a little earlier, at this age, right? You don't really, you think, you hope you're doing the right thing. You're trying to do all this stuff. But sometimes, you just kind of question yourself a little bit.
Daily. Daily.
But you are.
You as the dad.
Well, you try to impart
Daily
your
question
wisdom
myself.
or your parents' wisdom on your children, like
Pop used to say.
Clemens said, the older I get, the smarter my father gets.
Samuel
Yeah.
Clemens.
And
I found that too.
that's true. You put your hand on it,
Hey,
it's gonna hurt.
Hey, Pop. Maybe not all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but that's so true,
Yeah,
Pop.
it is, yeah.
Well, they try. Everybody. My dad told me, he said, "Listen, everybody has to get their own black eyes. Everybody, and that you can put that any way you want. But and he's right.
He's right.
You gotta go in there and say, maybe I don't like this, or maybe this is stimulating, or whatever. But you have to deal with that. And as you grow up, when we grew up as kids, and you got a certain age, there was no debate about what's right or wrong. You know what's right or wrong. You know what you got to do. You have to be a good citizen. You got to be a good father or mother. And it's just different today. I mean, we don't we were never, how can I say that? We were never followed and say, don't do it when we were older. We got married, and okay, you got it. You know, you never went back and say, Annie, you know, you got it. This is the way you're supposed to handle it. You want to be a man, you be a man. You know, plain and simple. And again, talk about that. But one of the things that I think about a good father is a good wife. A good woman just makes a good father. You know, just makes a good father. You know?
Throw this to you, Pop. How has being a dad changed with age and experience as you've gotten older and you're now a great-grandfather?
Yeah.
How has that perspective changed or evolved as you've gotten older?
Well, simple. When the problem comes up, usually you experience it somewhere in your life, and as long as it's not going to be threatening, or you know, it's not going to be traumatic, it'll work itself out. You know, I rely on Keith and Yona with their children, and my other children the same way. You know, they make their decisions, right? And hopefully they know enough to consider their children and also their wife. You know, father is one of the problems today. I think is the lack of fatherhood. You know, used to be, you know, father was responsible for the family. Used to be everything, you know, and you know, abandonment and all that other stuff. That was charged. You were charged with that. If you, we had many a fire. Where I worked, it was fully occupied at that time, and we had fires late at night and stuff like that. And God forbid there was some deaths, and they want to know where the parents are. If the parents weren't there, they want to know where were they, period. And they used to be charged, you know. Now that kind of family structure kind of changed somehow. You know, it's antiquated, or I don't know. But when things got tough, you all got together, and you all pulled together, and you let the differences lay where they are. You know, it's a little different today, and you try to maintain that family unit. I think that's the biggest thing, biggest support. In our country, we're late on it. You know, family. You know, I'm sure there's ups and downs. You see marriages that you say, oh, you make a decision that should have never happened, and all that other stuff. But you're not in there to judge everybody. You're trying to do the best you can. If that happened to them, you're not going to let it happen to you. It's the way it is.
We got a lot of comments coming in from viewers and listeners. This is from Kevin Higgins. This is his best memory of being a dad, or of his dad. Kevin Higgins, who's watching in Greenwood. The best memory of my dad, he says, my friend Jeff and I thought it was fun to ring doorbells and run. My pop found out about it. Our punishment was to dig holes with a manual post-hole digger for a week in Virginia humidity. Our hands were blistered and bleeding. My dad measured every hole for depth and width, filling many holes and making us start over. 7 days later on the day, the lumber was being delivered to build the fence. My dad met with Jeff and I at like 6 a.m. and told us, fill all the holes. There is no fence. Don't do it again. Best lesson I ever was given. I got a similar lesson to that, Kevin Higgins. I was going into my senior year of high school and going to the welcome back dance, and chose to take the girl I was seeing at the time to the welcome back dance. Well, I had one too many beverages prior to the welcome back dance.
In high school.
In high school. And as I'm going to the welcome back dance, the teacher said, no, you can't go to the welcome back dance. You can barely stand up. So the welcome back dance did not happen. I ended up going back to my buddy's house, needed to take a little nap at my buddy's house. I wake up to my parents at my buddy's house, shaking me to wake me up, my dad looming over me.
Ooh.
Long story short, the next morning I was up at 5:30 in the morning to chop and stack wood. Chopped and stacked wood for the entire day. Incredibly hungover. A lesson well learned from my dad. We still talk about that to this day.
Kerry, did you have one of those stories? Because I've got one.
Oh shit, why not?
And your dad is one.
Oh yeah. This was where it was, my mother was my saving grace. So I actually, there was only like 2 times I drank during high school. And it was the first time I had tequila. It was a sleepover at the guy's house. And I got drunk off tequila. And the thing is, I was working at that theater that I told you about. I had to be at work the next day. But now Sunday tradition was Dad sat in his big comfy chair and he read the LA Times from front to back, the Sunday edition. So he wrote the ads, he read the lifestyle, he read all the news, everything. But all of us would then be watching Sunday shows or whatever. The whole family unit was in the living room together. Well, I got dropped off by my friends from this night of drinking at like 8 in the morning, which obviously if you've ever drank before, you still smell like it the next day. I had not experienced this. I didn't know this happened. So I just walked in the door. No, I didn't. I was still probably a little drunk. But I walked in the door and I just sat in Dad's chair. And then was just eating donuts. And everyone in the room is just staring at me like,
Oh,
what's going on? And then my dad just looks up like, have you been drinking? No.
Did he smell it on you?
Oh, yeah. Everybody in the room smelled it on me. I'm like, no. No, of course not. And then he pushes like, you sure you haven't been drinking? I'm like, okay, well, I maybe had one. And you could just see he was boiling and boiling and boiling. And then, you know, me, I'm like, you know, I'm not going to take this. I'm going to go to my room and relax. And my mom walks in with a big old glass of water and a bunch of ibuprofen. She's like, you're not the first guy I've seen that had a little too much. Your dad's extremely angry, but I've talked to him on one condition. This is the first time. Like, yes, I've never drank before. This is what happens. Like, okay, how do you feel? Horrible. Cool, you still have to go to work. So my punishment was we all went to the theater together because family performed. I worked at the theater. So yeah, I had to go and work hungover, and that was my penance. We didn't have chopping wood in Southern California.
Well, you had a form of it. Yeah.
And we had a form of it, labor and whatnot.
Yeah.
penance. That's you a Catholic?
Oh, goodness, no.
Frank Ronk says,
Goodness, no.
Frank, his father, is watching. He said Kerry was 12 when he told me during a conversation to please let him make his own mistakes and decisions.
Oh.
12
Well-
years old.
well
and
done.
Heather Bangley is watching the program, and she is curious about your Air Force story that you alluded to earlier in the show.
Oh, yeah. So if I can tell my drinking stories, and we can kind of wrap it around, because this involved this man to my right here. When I decided to drink that whole bottle of Jim Beam, I think I was like 14 or 15 or...
That's not a good decision even when you're 30.
It was not a good decision.
Or 80.
Kerry, we're not talking about decisions here. We're talking about stories.
I'm out.
No judging.
Lee Elberson is giving Pop some props and some love. And he
Another
says,
Marine.
I second Leonard's sentiment for the power of the family structure.
Oh, yeah.
And he said that was a great take from Leonard. That's from Lee Elberson.
Leonard.
Finish your
Leonard.
thought
Yeah,
there.
your Air
Oh,
Force,
Leonard. Look at that, huh? Leonard.
quite distinguished.
You're getting props from the viewers and listeners. They love
Leonard,
you, Pop. We
Leonard.
might have to build a show around
We're
Pop
going to
Smith.
build
No,
a
I don't think so.
bourbon with pop. There you go. I like it. Bourbon with pop.
Finish your story.
So I'm only recently, and thank you to Woody Fincham, I'm only recently starting to be able to sip bourbon, because when I was 14 or 15 years old, my so-called friends decided that we were going to drink a whole bottle of bourbon. And very long story, got left in a snowbank, some guy dropped me off.
That's right, it's winter.
It was winter. So at the time, Dad was a marathon runner, right? You were running marathons and long distance, and you
Well, I was a runner, yeah, I was job.
but
yeah.
you were training firemen to run long distance.
Right. For, yeah, aerobic exercise.
Aerobic exercises. And so I got up, went, The next morning, which I don't remember any of this, I never got yelled at. I never got preached at. I got told to put on my running shorts, my sneakers, and my thing, and we ran like 8 or 9 miles that day along Wantor Parkway. I remember it and I was throwing up and doing every step. So I learned my lesson. He made me run. He never chastised me. Never said, "Don't ever do this again." But I ran that run, and I realized, and until just recently, I've never been able to actually smell bourbon. So, but Woody corrected me of that.
The Buffalo Trace.
of that
Very good stuff.
problem.
So what about the Air Force, though?
Yeah. You want to go into the Air Force? I've been trying not.
Heather Bagley wants to hear the story.
Mother of 4, Heather.
Mother of
Yeah.
4. So,
Love you, Heather.
Heath Forbes also watching the show, giving you some props.
everybody gives the Air Force a hard time,
As they should.
except
This lives on the internet forever, Kerry. This lives on the internet forever.
Hey, they were badasses in World War II because it was the only way we could deliver nuclear munitions.
but
since then,
technically they were in the Army at that time. They were not
They were
even
Army
the
Air Corps, correct.
Army Air Corps. They were part of the Army at that particular point in time. So we did a little training with Air Force Pararescue. And so you're a Marine.
Oh, you got multiple Air Force people on the feed right now. Finish your story, Keith Smith.
You are a Marine. You're maybe a year out of boot camp. It's kind of like your Ranger. Did you go to Ranger school? Did you went
No.
to Airborne? You went to
Airborne, yeah.
Airborne, right? So bullets bounce off of you, right? I'm great, you suck. All that kind of great stuff. And you come out of that, and so what we did is we had to train with the Air Force Pararescue in Lackland Air Force Base because we were only 5 guys, 6 guys in charge of 450 U.S. souls. So what the Pararescue is really good at is going in and getting you, taking care of you, and getting you out in hostile territory, right? That's what they're freaking awesome at in doing that. So we went to PT with them, we went to train with them, we went to run with them. And then I realized, oops, dog
they put you
dust.
through the ringer?
Oh my God, dog dust. So, it's not all air, what do they call it? Chair force? The pararescue guys and the forward observers, there's pretty high speed guys and gals, but, so that's the story. We walked in there, we were 4 or 5 guys thinking that we were all that and a bag of chips all put together, and then went oops and dogged us. Anyway, but some of them are dear friends to this day, and it was a lot of fun.
So I got a question that's burning, and it's for everybody at the table.
Okay.
Jerry and I, same generation, dads, slightly older, very much older.
Slightly older.
Nice job, buddy. How'd you get around that?
Hey, Buffalo Trace makes you curve.
Yeah. Show's over. Nice show.
When did you think you were ready to be a dad?
Oh, that's a tough one. Do you ever
Were
think
you
you're
ever ready? Did you have a point where it's like, okay, I'm ready to be a dad?
I never even thought about it.
Yeah, ditto. Never even thought about
It
it.
just happened.
It's just,
Yeah.
part of falling in love is the physical part of it, and we got back, I never even, I knew that was going to come, family, whatever, and then once you were there, then you had to do what you had to do, you were responsible for your actions, and, it was a mutual thing, and it's
We
not-
got pregnant on our honeymoon. Came back from our honeymoon in Hawaii. She's like, I'm not feeling so great.
So we didn't get pregnant.
Well, my wife got pregnant. I mean, my wife.
We participated in
My
it.
wife did all the work. Heather Bangley says she loves you, Kerry Rock. My wife did all the work. We came back from Hawaii after literally being married for like 3 days, 4 days. And she's like, I don't feel so good. And then she's like, I don't think this is me going to the doctor. I think I need to buy something at the drugstore.
No.
And she came back with the pregnancy kit, left it on the counter of the bathroom, and I was like, okay, here we go.
Parenthood, was that a goal for you guys? Did you speak about that beforehand?
We pulled the goalie
Okay.
on our honeymoon. We pulled the goalie, so it was an empty net. So we thought it could happen.
There's a mental picture I
Getting
really
pregnant.
did not want to have.
We thought getting pregnant could happen. Did we think it was going to happen that quickly? No, because usually you would want a little bit of transition time between just getting married to being parents. Because that takes, wouldn't we all agree here that takes the relationship to a completely different level?
I tell
When
you-
there's a kid in there and then you're responsible for this kid, You know, it's
Colleen and I
like
had that conversation.
a different level of stress
So,
on the,
so
on
how
the
old were you when you
relationship.
became a father first time?
37.
Yeah, I think I was, so what am I, 36.
And how old were you, Pop? 20-something?
Come on.
Come on.
You need to do math? Or?
Well, let's.
You need some help? We got fingers
Yeah,
here.
yeah. I'm,
And toes,
I'm
too.
trying to remember.
You were a young man.
20, well, I was at his, I was 21.
That's a young man.
So
We
I-
married at 22.
Yeah.
I was 22, my wife was 20. Tina, my wife, was 20.
and I
But
was,
that was part of being, well, you got married, you were supposed to have children. I mean,
Right.
it was kind of like a social thing, and the culmination of the marriage produced children.
so I was
And-
23.
When you had your daughter?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And and then that was, we were learning. It was, you know.
Yeah.
You try to approach it a little more with a little sense and stuff. You were there. You had to make it work, you know.
I mean, because at 21, 23,
Oh, I was not mature enough
Right.
to be an adult.
21,
I
23,
mean,
I
a
could,
parent.
Well,
yeah, I could
neither was
barely
I.
get it.
Neither was I.
I could barely
Well,
get
You were in
I
a
have to tell
generation
you.
where it's like you guys just made it happen. You understood you had a
But
responsibility and you took it.
there's all the fathers.
but-
no matter whether you're 37, 21, or 45. You have that, you know, you say, wow.
Why do you think it's happening later now? Why is marriage
Oh,
happening
great-
later
great
now?
question.
And why is parenthood happening later now? Is this an affordability? Yeah, thank you, Keith. Thank you. Is this an affordability issue? Or
Well,
is
that
this
was never even thought about.
the affordability?
Never.
I never thought about it.
Okay, I mean, we think it. You think about that?
Oh God, I see what I pay for childcare.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
30,000.
Dude,
it's obscene.
How much is that number?
At the end of the year with 2 kids in daycare, I will have paid $30,000 for daycare.
My kid is in a summer camp right now for 1 week. It's 1 week, 8:30 to 3. It's like $550 a week.
Well, Harry, my
Well,
son.
that was never even, that was unaffordable.
Yeah,
You-
but okay, so when you had your kids, where were your family?
Where was mine?
Where was your dad, your mom? Did they live in the
Well,
same
my
area?
mother-in-law used to help out.
So you were
and-
fortunate.
So that's the
Well, not
That's the-
really.
that's
She
the-
lived, you know, a good distance, and
What's a good distance?
Because we don't have any family
she
around.
lived in Brooklyn. We lived in Queens. But
I wish we had the studio. But so to Jerry and I's point, like my family is all in California.
Yeah.
Colleen's family is all in Colorado. So yeah, raising our kids, it's not that we're alone per se. They're all our whole family. Like we do Zoom calls.
It's funny you should say that because our grandkids are up in Connecticut, right? And we're like, oh, by the way, Jerry, I'm going to be gone a week in July.
Again? Again?
This dude hates it when I leave. But
This guy leaves
Harry,
more than anyone I
anytime, brother,
know.
You got this seat when I'm gone.
Oh,
All right,
he,
all right.
he could definitely fill it.
But we were like, we need to go away and spend a little bit of time together. And we're focusing, no, we want to go up and spend the week and help the kids out, my daughter out and son-in-law out, so they can go do a little couple of things and we'll watch the kids for a
And
week.
that is so appreciated by the parents in the
Oh,
family.
absolutely.
Because I don't have neither my wife nor I have any family in the area. You know, her family's on Long Island. My family is spread all over the country. And it can be isolating and,
Sure.
and lonely, you know? And,
Yeah.
and to Carrie's point, childcare, I mean, the sitters now are asking like $17.50, $20 an hour.
We pay ours 20 just so we can reserve them.
$20 an hour.
Yeah.
So you go out on a date, you want to take her somewhere
Hey,
nice.
Carrie, $19, I'll do it.
$19. You don't want this guy watching your 2 daughters.
I mean, I might end up with a bottle of whiskey,
I know you might.
They'll learn how to drink.
or there'll be less whiskey in the house.
I mean, now, Keith, you got a date. You're gonna drop what on a date?
150 easy.
$150, right? What'd you say?
Well, we talked about that. I took Harry, my son-in-law, my wife, and my daughter out for dinner. We were up there a couple of weeks ago. You know, for a steak dinner, we dropped $6 plus $25 an hour for a babysitter.
That's what I'm saying. So going out now, I mean, that particular case cost you almost what, $800
Yeah,
with the childcare.
and I'm still twitching. Thanks, pal.
So is that,
it was completely different.
okay?
Yeah.
How so? How so?
Also, there was no babysitting.
Yeah.
You would have, that would be a rare thing. Going out to dinner was like you had to get dressed. I'd wear a tie, and it was a big thing. And you took the kids. We took.
Are you going to tell that story?
No, we took. At that time, we had 2 children, Kelly Ann and Keith, And we took the kids everywhere we went. I shouldn't say everywhere, that's not, but mostly all the time. And what the good part of it was, they learned to conduct themselves. If you were out in a restaurant,
That may
There
or
was
may
no-
not be true, folks.
we
We very, I can literally count.
Let's just call it most of the time.
I can
Yeah.
literally
Most of
count
the
on one hand, because we just never had the money to do it.
Right.
Right? I can remember on one hand that we went out for dinner as a family. But and the only different, I thought you were going to tell the story is because I've always had a little bit of expensive taste, right?
Well,
and we went out
that's next.
we went out for a dinner as a family, and me being the knucklehead that I am, everybody's kind of trying to be, look at the menu and order something that's a little.
We had an anniversary, and we lived on Long Island, and we loved Eastern Long Island, especially on the North Shore. And
Claudio's.
yeah,
Claudio's in
very,
Greenport.
very nice and stuff like that. So we did everything together. We even took the dog at the time, except for the restaurant. And there was rarely did we have a babysitter. But we went out on our anniversary, we took the kids with us. We were going out to eat in this Claudio's, it's a sea thing, and
I've been to Claudio's.
yeah, and we were worried about the money, we're sitting there, and naturally, I says, okay, we're looking at the menu, we're watching what you're going to order, and we kind of taught the kids how to conduct themselves, if you order for yourself and stuff, that was all part of it. They were in that mix where they picked up a certain protocol that deal with, not running under the table or pulling on, they would, how to conduct themselves correctly. So, so we're looking at the menu and we,
This is a seafood / steakhouse.
Now, how old are you at this point?
I don't know.
Oh my God! So it was just Kelly and I, right?
Yeah, it
So
had to be 10.
10 years old,
10 years
11 years
old.
old, something like that.
Keith
yeah.
has 3 brothers and sisters.
Yep.
Yeah. So only 2 at the time.
Right, there's 12 years difference between
Good
Keith,
Catholic, by the way, good Catholic
Keith and the
family.
youngest,
Huh?
your youngest daughter.
the youngest.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So anyway, make a long story short, we're going, Tina and I were looking at the order certain thing, and Kelly too. Big boy here takes the topless steak, was it?
Oh, I did a surf and turf.
Surf and turf. That was it. And now I'm not going to try to make a scene, and I'm figuring, all right, I got it covered. I got some.
I
covered.
totally
But everything
disregarded
was,
this whole money
there was we didn't use credit cards. The first time we used a credit card, we took a trip to Florida, right? And we wanted to, we
I wasn't around.
expand ourselves.
I was in the Corps at that time.
Yeah, and that's when I got a credit card. But when Tina and I moved out to Happy Valley, Levittown, we had a handyman special, worked, just need a lot of work. I guess that's how I got into building and stuff. And we didn't go away for 5 years. I don't think we went out to eat. Everything was and we survived, the kids survived. And we went out, I remember the Pocono, we went out.
Was that where the duck chased me?
No, that was later.
There's a whole thing about a duck. There's a duck involved in this.
We
by the
went
way.
to a resort in the Poconos, Pocono Rest, I think it was. And you came down and sit at the table. You always had it, and then Tina would always make sure you get yourself straightened out and everything. And there was a German couple that was behind us, and they mentioned to my wife, Tina, how well the kids behaved, and we just had spent some time in Cape Charles this weekend, and we went to this oyster farm, and the families were there, with their families, and there was kids all over the place, running around. The waitresses were going crazy, loud. It was nice. It was nothing bad that happened there, but that would be not tolerated in a restaurant. they would come over and say, please control your children, you know? And
Got
of
to
course.
talk to the mic, Bob. That's
Huh?
why the mic, got to talk to the mic. That's the
talking to
reason why
him.
the mic is there. Just want to let you know. You,
But
just want to let you know, Bob.
the mic,
The mic.
yeah. The-
Alex Erpy says, same here, Pop. I'm always grateful to my parents for having taught us as children how to conduct ourselves and converse with adults, even at a younger age.
So it's interesting you guys should say that, because I was preparing for the show and I was talking to both my daughters, and I said, we're very unique. My children grew up with my mother and father, right? They were always with my mother and father. They were always with that. They actually, to the point that I'm getting a little bit worried about it, because they won't call me, but they'll call him and talk to him on that end.
And Tina.
And Tina, and my mother. But I asked them the other day, I said, you know, what's one of the best things that you learned from us, right? What's your takeaway? And so Yvonne was our first child, first person in the Smith family, our family, to go to college, right? And first one
Yeah.
ever to go to university.
Oh, you guys went to college, you just
Yeah.
never
Okay.
made it.
Okay.
That's-
Well, let's rephrase that. Somebody who actually graduated from college on that end of it, and both of them said, you taught us how to communicate with other people that weren't like ourselves, right? Figure out how to talk to somebody that is different than you, or speak to them in a way that they can speak to it. So we've always, as a family, have always been inclusive. It doesn't matter what striped you are or not striped you are, or whatever it is, you're always welcome into the family. And we're pretty eclectic. We have everything from African Americans to Jewish to
Well, that all changed, yeah.
yeah, right, or have Latinx. I don't know I don't get myself into trouble here, but Latino, right? I think that's the right terminology at this point. But sister-in-laws and all this stuff. We have Austrians in the family, so we were always been eclectic. And one of the great things, talk about family. One of the great things that we do, we're about ready to have it on Saturday. We're just such a huge group of people, like 20, 30 people that show up at these events. We all hold hands. We all have different opinions about things because we're very opinionated. Go figure.
Absolutely.
Go figure. All right.
Absolutely.
But we hold each other's hands. We tell each other we love them, and then hold on, right? And it's funny. It's great. One of the joys in my life is to sit at a kitchen table at my house and watch my father and my 20-something-year-old daughter debate a topic. We won't talk about topics, right? We'll stay away from topics. But debate a topic, and debate it passionately about it. And they're from two very different opinions, right, on that end of it. And what happens at the end of it, Pop?
Give her a hug.
Give her a hug and tell her I love you. See you next week,
It's the way it should be.
whatever it is.
You mean we can disagree and still love each other?
Yeah, exactly.
We
can
act-
disagree.
You have to
and
work
still
at
love
that.
each other.
You have
Well
to
said.
work at that, everybody has a different opinion about stuff like that.
So
Well-
this is from Christopher Eagle, who's watching the show.
Hey, Christopher.
Says, as a millennial, he's a millennial, times have changed. Times have really changed. People are putting themselves, their jobs, their careers, their traveling, and whatever first before seriously dating or getting married, which puts marriage and children later in life. I feel like it's rare to hear people getting married at 20 years old. The most recent weddings I have been to have been people in their late 20s and early 30s. And he's right.
So
He's
I was-
definitely right.
We just got to think of the culture we're in right now, like the different generations this is one of the first few take Iraq and Afghanistan, like the first few non-war generations that we have the time to spend on ourselves and our adventures, whether it be businesses or just wanting to not be tied down in a sense. I know with myself, I didn't consider marriage or anything like that until into my 30s. And it was more just, I wanted to live a free life, to
But
say.
it's interesting.
That's the same with me. I didn't consider it until I was in my 30s.
But your rise to where you are now was happening in your 20s.
100%.
So, we both had it happen at the same time.
Yeah.
In the same circles. And that just didn't fit in.
Right.
But also society accepted that at that point. It was okay to be single until your 30s. It was okay to not have kids until your 30s. Now, would I have done it a little bit sooner? Now knowing what fatherhood takes.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Right, maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well,
This is
what-
a young man's game with the little
Oh, dude,
amount
it's
of
so
sleep I'm
physical.
getting right
It's
now.
so physical.
I don't know about that. One of my jokes is you should become a father when you're 60 or 70 or whatever, because I don't sleep a whole bunch. When you hit a certain age, you don't sleep a lot, so it's a stupid joke. But it's interesting. What Yona and I were having, Yasmin, our oldest daughter, and we were up there. We were just having this conversation, this debate, and it's kind of it is what it is. We were young by today's standards. We were young parents. We're also relatively young grandparents, right? You're relatively young, as far as great grandparents go.
Oh, he's very young for great granddad.
Great. But we were just talking about this. We are now at an age at 60. I'm almost 60. Yona may or may not be 60. I don't want to get myself into trouble on this stuff of it. But we're going to get to see our grandkids grow up,
Yeah.
right? We're going to participate. We're going to be at a point where our health allows us to do this. Our fiscal ability allows us to do this because we're at that point in our lives. And we were having this conversation with, geez, if we would have waited until 30 or 40 to have kids, we might not have that opportunity. To us, that's important right now. But we sure as hell didn't plan it. I can assure you that did not happen. It was, matter of fact, with daughter number 2, I did the proverbial, hey, honey, how did that happen? conversation. So,
Well, with Colleen and I, we didn't start dating until I was 36. She was 37, and I remember us 6 months in. We were walking down Preston, and it just came up. She's like, "I feel like there's a timer on this relationship."
Oh.
Because we were very serious about each other. We planned on moving in together, all that. And she's like, if it's going this way, like, I do want kids. And I'd never thought of it. I'm like, sure. Like, I feel like wanting kids is with the right partner. And with Colleen, like 100%, I was happy to be a parent with her. But that did put a pressure on our relationship to a certain extent, to where we conceived our first child the week after our honeymoon. And then next one, a few months after it was okay, after the second one was ready to go.
so you're doing this podcast, right?
yeah.
So let's talk a little
About
bit.
fatherhood.
Let's
Specifically,
let's talk about that a little bit, please.
And
So-
I can already tell, dude, since you've come on the show to now, the podcasting experience is further refining your already A+ broadcasting skills.
How so?
Well, I mean, you were asking very good questions to Keith and Pop. You were setting the pace and tempo. I could just tell that it's like refining something that you're already good at.
Well, I've been on the I Love Seaville show.
I know you have.
Times.
I know you have.
I'm
A lot of
learning.
times. A
I'm
lot of
learning.
times. You're good at it. Kevin Yancey's watching in Waynesboro. He says he's Keith's age now and has 2 daughters, 6 and 10 years old. Kevin Yancey, 6 and 10, 2 daughters. He married at 40, and his first child was at 45 years old. Daniel Pettit is watching. He says hi to Pop, Dan Pettit, who we fondly dubbed Mustache Dan Pettit. He said his daughter just got her PhD. She's been engaged for 5 years, and now she's planning a wedding, and she's 35 years old. So they're highlighting, or they're emphasizing how it's happening later in life.
Yeah, it's a thing, right? It's a reality. That's what's happening. Good, bad, or indifferent. It was funny as everybody was talking, and at some point somebody should do a little research on that. I wonder in the 20s, after World War I, right, in the Roaring 20s, I wonder if people were waiting later to get married at that point. Just to kind of, you keep on connecting what's happening now, Jerry, to the euphoria, things are trying to go in a
Post-pandemic, we've associated with the Roaring 20s with the impact it's going to have with people going out. I'm curious to see if the pandemic and COVID is going to delay parents and birthing.
Or maybe it's the opposite, though.
Well, because people are quarantining. So you think it's going to make it go faster?
Oh, we've got a onesie that says they did not stay 6 feet apart.
Well, you guys were married. Yeah.
True, but you have those other partners that are there, and maybe it didn't come up, but then there's
Because Durac, Provolactive sales dropped considerably during the pandemic. That's documented.
Okay, great. Thanks for the
Yeah,
information.
well, I'm just saying, people were not
Thanks for the information.
hooking up. They weren't hooking
Hold on a
up.
second.
Hold on, you know
Let
that
me
one.
write that down.
They weren't hooking up. It's true.
Should we get into the story that maybe not everybody uses one of those? Maybe that might be.
Well, you can if you're going to be a.
No, no.
We'll stop there.
We'll stop there.
Yeah.
We'll stop there. I got my dad here.
Yeah, you get your dad there. Put that magnet on over that arm. All right, so why don't we close with this topic? What is it about fatherhood that you love, Carrie Rock?
Great question.
So, with the Do Good Seville thing, we've talked a couple times. My basic answer is always being a part of something that's bigger than yourself. Being a parent is even bigger than that. Like being able to hopefully live a good life and a good example to provide that to my kids. And then just seeing them in the morning. Like I told you this morning, like my daughter whacked the hell out of my shins, stepped on my toe, and I'm ready to be angry as hell. And then when she hits that high note in a Frozen song, we're singing together, and then she says, "I love you, Daddy," and gives me a mooch, then goes off to daycare. It's like those singular moments. They may not, in the quantitative realm, they may not equal the same amount of time as the times that people will consider bad times, but they are so much more valuable than that. And then I can hark on those. I have a video that I kept that my daughter and my wife sent of my daughter cheering me on when I did a charity bike ride last year, and it's her just yelling, "Go, my daddy, go." It's like she knows I'm her daddy. She knows I'm gonna protect her. She knows I'm there for her. Now we're going through a mommy phase, but I know still like there's those shiny moments where she runs through the room and just dive tackles me for a hug. And
There you go, man.
You can't
Can't
explain
beat that.
You can't explain that to a non-dad. To a
There's
non-parent.
no
You
bank
can't explain
account.
any of those.
No
feelings.
amount of money in your bank account that can.
Can't beat that.
Can't
No.
beat that.
Yeah. How about you, Pop?
Well, we've been very fortunate. We've seen them grow through, and we grew. We were married early, so we had to grow, and they grew with us. And there's, like they say, there's no manual. You know what I mean? There's no. So we had to do. We were concerned providing a home and a future and safe for our children. And luckily, we see them all come, and our grandchildren. When you're younger, you get to see all of that. You grow together. Maybe we missed a few opportunities because of the family. So I can't do that. I can't travel around the country. I can't do this because I have the obligation of my family. But looking back, there's a lot of great times with the hugs and teaching them how to play football and
Baseball.
and fishing together and watching your daughter, grow up at a little cutesy and all that other stuff. That's really and now you see them grow as parents. I had the opportunity to see
Or grandparents.
grandparents, great grandparents. You see the things. Now, you don't say as much as you used to. You learn how to zip it, basically. But, you see the good things and the bad things, and they're learning. Well, that ain't going to work, or this ain't going to work, or, oh, the children are this way. Well, leave the kids alone. They'll work their way out. Especially with this pandemic thing going on, that everybody said, oh, we went through many of being sick. Keith was, we were young married, we had a little apartment, and Keith was born, and he had he went into convulsions. So now where's the book on convulsions? So we
Convulsions.
This is the first time I've heard this story.
and we had the doctor come to the house with this bag.
That's old school right there.
Yeah.
right there. And we had to soak him in his fever was so high, he had to soak him in the tub. To bring the fever down, Now that's an experience that we learned, and then with all the other children and coming by, you just say, okay, you just get through it, do the best you can. And now we go to school with them, play with them, fish when we went fishing many times like that. I like that with.
You want to
Keith.
tell the sink the car story
Yeah,
and how I got blamed for that?
No, you
We're not going to tell that story.
No,
how
you
how
weren't
I
even
wasn't
there.
even there.
You
You and Grandpa sunk the truck, right?
Yeah.
And I wasn't there, and there may or may not have been whiskey involved in it at the time. Not from you, but from Grandpa's perspective.
No,
They
we were-
sunk the freaking truck.
Oh, we did it soberly, yeah.
And I wasn't even there, and I
We
got
used to
blamed for-
launch a boat locally. We liked fishing so much, we got a boat, and the boat, it was a boat that had to be worked on naturally, couldn't get something new. And so my father and I said, well, let's get another motor. So we bucked up together, we bought a motor together, and we put it on this boat.
I'm at school, guys, when this is happening.
And I bought a stainless steel propeller. I said, let's try this. And we go in there and we launched the boat and we had to go to work. So I said, all right, that's good. Everything's working. It's like getting a new car. You want to drive it, So cranking this up, and I had an international
1966, right?
Harvest, whatever it was.
The first Suburban that was ever made was a Harvester International.
Yeah.
We used to call it the Dental, but it was a
That's all,
travel.
Yeah. And
No AC, by the
said
way.
it was standard shift. So we're cranking this up, and it's not going fast enough for me. So I'm pushing the
Oh,
shoulder.
you were impatient. Go figure.
I'm pushing it on a hole to get into the liner. It's not going fast. And I noticed the truck moved. And all of a sudden, she popped out of gear, and she started rolling down. And my father got in there, and he was getting into the car, the front of the car, trying to hit the brake, and it was all underwater by this time. And people at these launches used to stay, watch people do these things. That was their entertainment, I guess. And I hear, oh
So-
my God, he's going to die. Look at this, what's he talking about? It was told my father was going, trying to find the pedal, and he's going down, and the water's up there. And actually, it was his fault.
It was totally my fault.
It's always Keith's fault.
It
I
wasn't-
was
yeah.
not there. It was my
But,
fault.
Anyway, we sunk the
Sunk a
car.
car. Sunk a
We
car.
sunk the car.
How'd you get it out?
The fire department pulled it out.
The Seaford Volunteer Fire Department
Pulled it out.
pulled it out, and I had
Here this is, Lieutenant in Rescue 2, the big bad lieutenant, Rescue 2, the busiest rescue.
I was,
the truck
needless
still
to say, I
operate?
was very humble.
Could you still drive the truck?
Well,
This is the
this gets better.
we got home. I had a friend of mine, Marty Flanagan, told me to the house. The next day, it was Keith and I, we drained the crankcase, and I cleaned everything up, and we got it running. The next day, of course, he didn't want to do that, but that's what he had to do.
That's interesting you should say that. I remember it was one of when I was growing up, I hated it, right? But he always took me to work with him. So I always went to work. I've always learned, how to work on a vehicle or how to frame or how to do that. And, as a kid, 8, 9, 10 years old growing up, the kids are playing stickball in the street and I had to go to work. I hated it. But later in life,
Yeah, you can do a lot of stuff.
I can do a lot of stuff. But I remember that.
Shut up and nail.
Shut up now. That's what I got
No,
told.
but we
He's promised me he's going to fix that door.
Oh, we should have told Pop about. Pop will
promised
fix it.
me he's gonna fix
Pop
that
will
door.
fix it. Pop will show up in the truck, tool truck. But anyway, we show up. We get the phone call. I show up with my mother, right, and the firemen are there, and the police are there, and all this stuff. And literally, I got blamed for not being there. If I was there, that would not have happened.
well, it was
Yeah, sure.
So I wanted to touch on something you said. You greatest generation, tough guys, nails. But when you're talking about the convulsions, where are you mentally as a father? Because it's our job as fathers to be the strength, to be the powerhouse, to be like the iron that our family leans against.
Well, you don't
Where
panic.
were you when he was going through the convulsions? Like, I know when my daughter, we had to go to an emergency room, I never felt more helpless in my life, but I had to put on that strong face for my wife. How did you handle that in your time, and then how did you do that?
So my daughter convulsed too. That's the first time I heard that story. My daughter at 3 months convulsed, but I'll let Pop tell that story.
Where'd you find that strength to keep being the strong husband.
That's your place.
You
That's
just
your
did it.
place as a father.
You just did
You
it.
don't put you don't put the shit pot on. You just say, okay, let's go get it.
But
There's got to be and God forbid that it was more serious, but that was out of your control. You know,
But at that time, you were a fireman for a few years.
Yeah.
Go back to that military question on how being a father. So I literally, this is the first time in 60 years I've heard this story. I did not know I was convulsed. Yasmina, at the time of 3 months, was having femoral convulsions, which is the same thing. Her fever would go over 100 and she would spike. And talk
Right.
about a helpless feeling. But what happened is at that time I just wrapped up the Corps. Training just kicked in, right? You know, you become laser focused, right? When if right now, God forbid, something not so good was going to happen in this room, I guarantee you, all of us would have started laser focusing on taking care of the job and taking care of what we need to do to get it
But
done.
it needs to be done.
What needs to be done. So that's what it was, at least for me. Because if you ever see Yasmin, the next time she comes over, you'll see this huge scar on top of her eye, because I was wearing a Carhartt jacket with the big brass bucket. So when she was convulsing, I thought she was choking. So I flipped her over. She was like 3 months old, and I started doing this. And when I did it, it cut her eye. So I had to bring it to the ER. She was bleeding like crazy.
Man.
Convulsing. If you don't think I got handcuffs put on me, you would be wrong.
Oh.
They pulled me aside. Then once we figured out what was going on, then everything was fine. But training just took over. You reacted and you went and did it. And I think I know you well enough to know that's what you did.
Oh, for sure.
Right? You're laser focused.
Yeah, you get it done.
You get it
But
done.
there's still that
and that's what Pop was saying. But that's literally the first time I heard I convulsed as a child. I did not know that.
But that's from the military side. I know Trey's been sick before.
He has.
How do you handle it?
Same as Pop said. Fortunate, and my wife is watching now. She's undoubtedly the rock and foundation of the family, but just try to be steady and consistent. I try to, be the same person each day. Someone that's, can be relied upon. And to give some real props should go to my wife. She's a stay-at-home mom. She's with
Absolutely.
our boy every day. And
Toughest job
out there.
Yep.
There's no doubt about it.
Well done.
Every day.
Without doubt.
Toughest job
Hands
in the
down.
world. So all the moms and dads that are stay-at-home parents, we salute you here. And gentlemen, we salute you for a phenomenal show. Father's Day special.
Can I just wrap up with one quick
Please,
thing, if you don't
please.
mind? I know we're running way past on time, so
Please.
thank you for doing that. You said spend time, right?
Yeah.
So it's interesting. What is one of the catchphrases now? Be present, right? In today's world, it's so hard, right? Back when I was raising children, you didn't have these, right? You didn't have all this distraction that you had, so you had an opportunity to be present. But our youngest daughter, Division I. She's a swimmer, so I used to take her to Fork Union Military Academy every morning at 4:30. Well, I used to wake up at 4:30. Used to be in the pool at 5:30 in the morning, and this is in her high school years. And bitched and moaned about it the whole freaking time, right? She would have made a great Marine, right? What's a happy Marine? A bitchin' Marine. So, but it's funny. I got a phone call from her the other day, and she said, "Thank you for doing that. Thank you for taking that time." And you had to drag her out of bed. You had to put her in the water, and you had to make sure you got her, and you took the time and you were present at it. And at some point in time, you will get that phone call or text or whatever it is going to be at that point in time in your life. And they're going to say, "Thanks, Dad, for doing that."
How great does that feel as a dad? You as well. Like he's thanking you
You
earlier.
got to be in charge. It's not always easy. It's not. It's like what the parent had to chastise his child. It's going to hurt me more than you. That
That's
stuff.
bullshit.
Yeah, But you just have to, you may not be liked.
So to add a little context to that.
You have to just. That's the way it's going to be. You don't want to hear anything about it, or you have to do this. You make them. You actually make them do it.
So
You
to
being
add-
a sergeant know what that means. You don't have to.
E6 or E5?
E5.
E6,
So-
but that's okay. Always got to be one better, right?
Always gotta do it.
But hearing it, hearing the thank you.
Yeah.
As a dad,
It's awesome.
Oh, the best.
Freaking awesome.
The best.
So to put a little context to that, My father and I and our families lost everything we had between 2008 and 2010, like $17 million. Like we lost everything we had. And I will tell you, because of losing everything we had, I got the time to spend with my youngest daughter to go there. And you asked what this was worth? If you want to put money to it, it's worth $17 million.
$17 million.
How do you end better than that?
That's a great way to end the show. Keith Smith is a grandfather. Pop Smith is a great-grandfather. Carrie Rock and I are fathers, and this is the Father's Day special of Real Talk with Keith Smith. And I think the show went very well, don't you,
Thank you,
Pop?
gentlemen.
Well, I also enjoy company, always.
You did a great job. You did a great job. Keith did a great job. Judah Wickhauer is our director. The show is archived on realtalkwithkeithsmith.com. Thank you kindly for joining us on a glorious Friday here in Charlottesville, Virginia. You guys have a good weekend and enjoy Father's Day on Sunday. Take care.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Good job, Pops. Pop, you did great.
Good, yeah, for an old guy, yeah.
We're going to get a quick photo here, guys.
No. I'm an old guy. You're a really old